Private health businesses in Southern Europe are in better financial shape than their public peers, according to S&P Capital IQ. Joining me today to discuss the implications of their analysis are S&P Capital IQ Silvina Adelko Martinez and Pavle Sabic. Thank you both for joining us. Investors are extremely concerned about the ability of Italy, Spain and Portugal to service their sovereign debt. How serious is that?
I think when you look at the bond yields that are at a record high right now for all three countries, there is some red flags there. And considering that S&P Ratings recently downgraded Spain yet again, there is concern in there about the credibility of these countries, and obviously if bondholders are going to go and start investing. If we look at the indices, the three main indices for these countries, they have been plummeting as well. Since January 2008, they've actually been dropping significantly. So I think it's very, very important, it's very, very serious, particularly when you're looking at the public universe.
Pavle, you seem to be focusing mainly on large public companies, but governments are trying to push growth through smaller and medium companies. How are these companies affected?
That's a very good point. I think firstly, SMEs, private companies, are very important for the economic outlook, if you like, and stability of a country. The analysis that we did actually on private versus public, we looked at hundreds of public companies, but for the private there was thousands in there, so it gives you a better understanding of what exactly the economy is like. When we had a look at these companies, for example, we looked at some leverage statistics, we looked at other fundamental analysis. Take one example. If we looked at the private energy sector in Portugal, we found that the current ratio was twice the size of the actual public in that particular sector. So again, it shows you they're more efficient in making money in that sense on an aggregate level. So it does give you a sense from our research that there is some benefits and some strength to the private sector against the public sector in these crisis-stricken countries, if you like.
Silvina, Pavle's findings seem to be extremely interesting, but we don't hear them much about smaller companies. What is going on?
No, that's a very good point, Giada. And one of the things that we have taken upon ourselves in S&P Capital IQ is to start developing more and more solutions and investing in this space. The reason for that is that our clients are very concerned about private companies. And just to mention a couple of trends, I think one of the first ones that we're seeing is that when it comes to mergers and acquisitions, more and more of the acquisition targets tend to be on the middle-size space as opposed to the larger publicly listed companies. You guys already mentioned the government's trying to push for more activity in the SME space. That means that lenders have to start analyzing smaller and medium enterprises more diligently in order to determine how to promote some of that activity. And even when you go into the most basic corporate type of activity, both clients and suppliers, given that the world in the corporate space is searching for efficiency, we encounter that there is more suppliers which are niche players in one particular sector, which tend to be private, or clients for the sake of the same, which actually are forcing corporations to also look more closely into the private company space.
What are the biggest challenges in analyzing private companies?
That is the key of the matter, I would say, because the challenge number one is the access to information. Privately held companies means that the information is not in the public domain. So that's challenge number one. Even when you get access to some information, I would say that the second aspect is the quality of that data and the standardization. Whenever you're doing any investment decision, any lending decision, a lot of that process does in-house comparability analysis, ratio comparisons and studies that require that the data becomes transparent, reliable and standardized. So this is what we are trying to do within S&P Capital IQ and the Capital IQ platform, is bring that standardization around the private company data alongside the public company data, so that you can work within the two and put them side to side. And at the same time, we are building a lot of quality controls and quality checks to make sure that the decisions that you made on top of those will be as robust as they could be.
What are S&P Capital IQ next steps in private companies?
We will continue to make investments in the private company space in the same way that Pavle actually produces a study for Southern European companies, which is definitely much more comprehensive than what we are able to cover today. We are working on a study on Nordic companies, so we are adding a lot of privately held companies on the Nordic countries into our platform. And our objective is to continue to expand geographically in all the areas where our customers are aiming to do business with small and medium enterprises, so that we can actually offer them an opportunity to make better informed decisions.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks to
very
you.
much.